Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be giving you an update on a little bit of snow which is going to be taking place in parts of the Great Lakes and the interior Northeast for today and tomorrow. It will be light snow, so we're just talking about 1 to 3 inch accumulations. It will be, again, a quick event, and it's happening within the next couple of hours, and actually in parts of Michigan and Wisconsin it's already started snowing. So this is an ongoing storm. Again, it's not going to be a huge storm. It's actually going to be fairly similar to the one that we had back on Saturday in parts of the Great Lakes. So it's going to be a similar type of snow to that, but actually a little bit less snowfall. So overall, not too big of a storm. We're not going to have a snowfall forecast on that on this system just because of, again, how quick it is going to be moving by, and it'll be a fairly minor system in the broad scope of things. So we will still show you the snowfall maps. However, I won't personally have a snowfall forecast for this one. Also, it is happening within the next couple of hours, so my snowfall forecast would quickly become out of date if I were to make one. Here's a look at our weather photo of the day. This one was sent in by Xavier from Detroit, Michigan. And this was taken around 3 p.m. on Saturday, showing about 1 to 2 inches of snow, which has accumulated into these areas. It's not really sticking too much to the pavement, like he said in the email when he sent it in, but it was sticking fairly good to grassy surfaces and also trees. So you do see some of that accumulating on some of the trees and also, again, those grassy surfaces. But once you get onto the pavement, again, you have some areas around the edges where probably wasn't treated as well, but we do have some accumulation around there. But overall, if there was well treated roads, it would be melted off for the most part. So thanks to Xavier for sending this one in. If you guys have any pictures that you want to send in, even if you did get some snow today, if you're going to get some tomorrow, or even if you had some from the last storm that you want to send in, send them over to elitheweatherguyyt@gmail.com, and then just write a general area from where you took your picture from. So like Xavier did, you could just write Detroit. You could have just wrote in southeastern Michigan. Does not have to be a town name, nothing specific. But just a general area from where you took your photo from. I have a couple more weather photos that we already have planned out for tomorrow and Wednesday. So you guys have sent in a bunch of your snowfall pictures, which is awesome to see, and I'll be featuring those over the next couple of days. So here's a look at what the current National Weather Service page looks like. You can see that we do have a few winter weather advisories across western Michigan, which are currently up. I would expect that some of that would be expanded further to the east. We also have freeze warnings into some parts of the Panhandle of Florida, Georgia, and also parts of Alabama. We have some more frost advisories into parts of Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. And then we have a few high wind watches and warnings up for some parts of Montana, but really, we don't have a ton of watches and warnings currently in place. Yesterday, we had a high temperature of 90 degrees in Woodland Hills, California. The low temperature was -2 degrees in Mount Washington, New Hampshire, and Saranac Lake, New York. The highest rainfall report was in Neelton, Washington, where they got 3.78 inches of rain, and the highest snowfall report was in Cattaraugus, New York, where they got 17 inches of snowfall, and there were some really high amounts, especially over this area right here, and also for this area right in here with the snowfall. There were some 6 to 12 inch or more amounts throughout that spot, and there might even be some areas in that zone which actually get additional snowfall from this current system. So this is what the radar looks like as of about 4:20 p.m. Eastern time. So again, this is all valid for 4:20 Eastern time in terms of the maps that I'm going to show you. Of course, especially the radar, you want to be checking that as you're kind of watching this video. So this is what the radar looks like as of when I'm recording this, but it might not be the same look to the radar when you guys check it on your own. So pretty much any weather app that you have nowadays, they have a little feature where you can go to the radar side. I do it just based off the AccuWeather radar because they show rain and snow, and I think I like their depiction a little bit better than some of the other maps. But of course, pretty much any weather app that you see on your phone or on any website is going to have some sort of weather radar that you can check where it's raining or snowing. Right now, this is a mostly all snow event, so we have a colder air mass in place, and that's allowing for a decent chunk of that snowfall to set up over parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, and maybe even spilling down into some parts of Indiana, especially because we do have a northerly or northwesterly wind, which is allowing some of that snowfall to come in to areas like South Bend, Indiana, maybe even getting near Gary, Indiana, and some of those areas in Indiana that typically are more prone to lake effect snowfall. All of that snow mainly coming off of Lake Michigan, and then the other snowfall up in northern Wisconsin, some of it being generated by the low pressure system, but also some of that is coming off of Lake Superior as well. So here's what the European model is showing. This is the high resolution European, and we're going to time this out for you guys. So we have a low pressure center, which is going to be sitting over Minnesota. This is by later today, and you can see that we do have a mix of rain and snow across parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, although it will be a mainly snow event. Now, moving this on one frame, you can see that snow dives down a little bit more into Indiana, Ohio, Western Michigan. It will be right around 33, 32, 31 degrees as it's snowing, so there might be some initial issues with it sticking to the ground, but I think past the 30-minute mark, if it's still snowing after 30 minutes, most of that will start to accumulate. So once you get that first initial coating of snowfall on pretty much any surface, it starts to add up much quicker. That even accounts for if you're looking at pavement. If you get an initial inch of snowfall on a road, again, it will melt a little bit faster compared to a grassy surface, but still, that's why some of those crews go out and put road salt on the roads before the storm, and that's why they don't do it during the storm for the most part, because once you already have that snow on the ground, it's really hard to melt it off. So you want to try and treat the roads or treat your sidewalk or your driveway beforehand, of course, before the snow comes in, because after you already get that initial coating of snowfall, even if it's a very light or thin coating, most of that snowfall can start to pile up much easier. So it looks like most of this is going to stick on grassy surfaces, but if your roads or your sidewalks or driveways are untreated or poorly treated, that could still accumulate on those type of surfaces. Here's later tonight, so we're talking about right around 11, 10 o'clock Central Time. That would be 11 or 12 a.m. Eastern time for tonight into early tomorrow morning. We have some amount of snowfall through parts of Ohio and Michigan. It is cold into parts of the Northeast. So here's your 32-degree line, and you can see this one goes all the way down into North Carolina and Virginia. So there's a fairly deep pocket of cold air out ahead of the system. Now, the reason that's happening is because we're going to see this system come in from Minnesota, but beforehand, we already had one system move in for Sunday morning in parts of the Northeast. So we already have another storm which is off here, and that's kind of bringing in a little bit of a trough into the Northeast. So this system is now moving into this trough right here, which is a little pocket of cold air, and that should allow for some snow into areas further south that typically wouldn't see it from a system as weak as this one. So that would include some parts of West Virginia, Eastern Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and that would even continue to extend through the rest of Pennsylvania overnight. So this is by Tuesday morning. Sunrise has already happened, so this is right around 6 or 7 in the morning Eastern time, and we have some amount of snow falling into parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. It is below 32 degrees over this entire region. There are some areas where it's going to be a little bit more iffy on whether you can get some snowflakes, especially because of the timing of this event. If this storm were a couple hours earlier, then this would be a snow event in parts of the coastal Northeast, but because it's happening during the in the peak of the day, where you're having the warmest temperatures, you're getting up near the mid and upper 30s, so that's your high temperatures for the day, that will mean that because of when the storm is moving through, again, because it's the warmest time of the day, many of these areas right along the coast might get in on rain, and then you get northwest of there, and you might get in on some snowfall. So just to show you that, you get a little bit of rain further to the south, and then in northern New Jersey, northern Pennsylvania, southern New York, you get in on some snowfall with a little bit of mixing for the areas northwest of I-95. So if you live right along or south of I-95, looking like a mostly rain event. West of I-95 by just a few miles, probably a mix of rain and snow by Tuesday early afternoon. And then if you live well northwest of there, that's where you're going to be getting into the snow for the most part, and you probably won't have too many issues with it sticking onto most surfaces. But by the evening hours on Tuesday, it's pretty much all said and done with. Either way, the rain, the mix, or the snow, whichever one you end up getting, is going to be fairly light. Here's the total snowfall totals from this European model, and you can see that we're looking at generally 1 to 3 inch amounts throughout parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. I think they are underestimating what's happening over here. So if you live in northern Indiana, I would watch out for potentially 1 to 3 inches of snowfall, even though it's not being depicted on this model. I will say also that I think there could be some heavier amounts into some parts of north central and south central, north central Pennsylvania and south central New York. I think it's underestimating the snowfall there. And in terms of lake effect snowfall, watch out in northwestern Michigan a little bit more, and also in the UP of Michigan. I think it's also underestimating the amount of snowfall that could occur into those areas. Here would be the NAM model, and you can see fairly similar story. Again, I think it's underdoing the amount of snowfall into this region right here. So again, if you live in that area, make sure to add a couple inches onto whatever total you have over there. I think overall this is fairly accurate. We're looking at about 1 to 3 or even 1 to 4 inches of snowfall. And then you get into the northeast, and again, you're looking at maybe 1, 2, at most 3 inches of snowfall. And this is just going to be the first of many rounds of snowfall that's going to occur over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to see this storm move through, and then we're going to have another round and another round. So it's going to be a continual flow of these smaller clipper storms, and by the end of the winter, if that trend continues, these are going to add up. These are not minor, well, they are minor events, but when you add them up, they do become fairly sizable. So if you get 3 2-inch storms within the span of a week, that's equivalent to getting 1 6-inch storm in that same week. So even though it might not seem as big of an event, once you start to get all these kind of adding up together, they do end up causing some issues, especially when you've got multiple storms coming on and on and on. It can cause some issues, especially on the roads where they start to get a little bit worn down during the winter. Here's the upper air maps just to kind of give you an idea of what's occurring. So you can't even see it really being depicted because of how weak this storm is. It really only has a surface presence, so it really does not have too much of an upper air presence on this map. So the storm is right here by this point, and this is the storm for Sunday that came through. So don't be fooled by the map right here. The storm that we're talking about is all the way back here. This is the storm that it has already moved by. The upper air trough is delayed by a few hours, so that's why it's looking like it's still over the northeast, even though most of that precipitation is all said and done with. So this is where it is by Monday morning. Now, if we move this on to about Monday or today in the afternoon, you can see that the storm has moved into Wisconsin by this point. So you can now see a little bit of a cutoff right there. But look at much of the northeast. You're in a colder pool of air because this system is kind of dragging down all this cold air down from Canada. So this sets up a pretty good environment for this system to bring in some snow. Here's the storm by this point. It's this little dive right there, or this little dip in the jet stream. That's where the system is by Tuesday morning. And then moving this on, that would eventually move into parts of southern New England as a very weak system, not even bringing pretty much any rain or snow, and eventually move out. But we do have multiple other systems on the way. We have one over here, and then we have another one up into parts of central Canada, and even if you look further west, we have another one back through western Canada as well. So this continual flow of storms is going to move into the Great Lakes in the northeast over the next couple of weeks. It looks like it might warm up like we've been talking about in the past couple of videos in parts of the east for the time between December 1st and about December 15th, but there are some signs that after the 15th, right in time for Christmas, it could cool down a little bit, and who knows, that could even create the possibility of a white Christmas in some of these areas. So we'll keep you updated with that. If you have any questions or comments, or you want a personal forecast for this storm, just leave a comment down below and I'll be responding within a couple hours of you posting those comments. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Goodbye.